Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear us. Just let us know in the chat if you can hear us well. But other than that, I just would like to welcome you to the second edition of Shelly Smart Control webinar. I'm super happy to see that once again, we reached out the maximum of our registrations. So this is absolutely amazing. Second of all, as you can see, we have shared the slide with a QR code to our Shelly community, and this community overall is the social media platform where we mainly communicate with our audience. Of course, sometimes we do use LinkedIn, we do use other platforms, but definitely the community is our place. I just would like to let you know that every single month we will have a different webinars where you can register, and all these webinars are going to be announced in this community. Other than that, Tetsu will mention in a bit, but we do also help and support all our customers. Almost the entire company and organization is in this community, so feel free to join. We will be there for you with all your open questions, and we will help you for sure. Something else to mention, that the duration of this webinar is 1 hour. We will have a 1 hour where we will discuss the scene automations. Something to mention that in the chat, we will have a live support where an internal team will help you with all your questions dedicated to scene automations. So if you have any questions for the topic, for the scenes automations, cloud automations, device automations, feel free to add your questions to the chat so someone will answer right away. So yeah, let's get started. I will now ask last thing I just want to mention. We are really looking forward to understand what are the next topics that you really would like to learn about the app. So feel free to add your preferences for future topics in the chat as well. But other than that, I just want to let Svetomir to introduce himself and welcome him to this webinar. Hi, Teto.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Shania, for organizing all these series of webinars for Shelly Smart Control. We will have I think the whole year.
The entire year we will have webinars through every single month.
This one exactly is for Shelly scenes or cloud-based scenes, but we'll get soon through basics of automations, and we'll get through some demonstrations and a bit of details. We'll have a second webinar for Shelly cloud scenes, but advanced. So this one will be most introductory, most basic use cases, but we'll get a bit more use cases how you can use the scenes in Shelly Smart Control. So I would like also to invite you to our Shelly support community in Facebook. As Shania said, please share your use case, inspire the other users.
Yeah, if you have any scene automations or scenes use cases that are interesting, basic or complex, it doesn't matter. It will be very helpful for us to see what you have created in the app, actually. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go with the presentation. I will share to you very quickly the agenda, and then Setsu will take over for a couple of slides, and then we will have a workshop demo session. Okay,
Thanks,
perfect. Let's go forward. So the agenda, introduction. Now in a bit, we will start with the scenes introduction, and then we will see very interesting use cases. Then we will move to create a simple scene where with Tetsu we will show you, actually I will create the basic scene for you. Then we will see the monitor and adjust automations. Then we will move to versatile automation possibilities. At the end, we will finish with tips and tricks and a short Q&A session. But as we mentioned, the Q&A will be kind of active all the time, so feel free to add your questions. Okay, I'm gonna switch to Tetsu. So Tetsu, you can go with the introduction.
Okay. First, before we jump right into automations with Shelly Smart Control and Shelly Cloud Scenes, let's remind ourselves what are the basic areas of automation in a home or for home automation. First, it's heating, ventilation, air conditioning, lighting, smart grid and appliance usage, and also environment monitoring alarms. So let's jump right to the first slide. What are the possibilities for automation with Shelly? Well, they're pretty versatile. Again, we will focus more on the possibilities with Shelly Smart Control. We can distinguish them on automation based on the device and automation based on the cloud. The cloud automations are complementary to the device automation. So this means you can use them together, and please use them together in order to make more versatile automations. So based on the device from Shelly Smart Control acts as a simple tool, as a single point, as a single application where you can set up both your devices and adds complementary features which are running on the cloud, like the scenes, like the alarms, like the virtual thermostats. They can be combined together via the Shelly Smart Control with the device-based setups for automation, starting for the simplest one, like how to on off timers. Turn on my device after X seconds or turn it off. Let's say time schedules allows you to run full-featured schedule during the whole week, repeatedly at specific hours. Actions, most of you already know, actions allows you from a single device to have actions to other devices, not relying on the internet, but relying on your network. And of course, a bit of advanced, but this allows IoT at the edge. Device itself This mode device itself supports scripts starting from generation 2. All device supports JavaScript scripts, so they run on the device. And if you come back to the presentation, you also have third-party integration possibilities both from the cloud part and from the device itself. Okay, so talking about automations, why I mentioned combine together the automations which are possible on the device itself together with the cloud automations. In order to create reliable automation, there are three main factors which I invite you to think about, especially for critical automations. First of all, what happens on power outage? What happens if the automated appliance fails? What happens if there's a problem with your router, your local network setup, Wi-Fi signal, or interferences? And last but not least, cloud automations usually rely on internet connectivity. So how can we make more reliable automations? Well, Shelly Smart Control provides you all the tools. My more or less the simplest tips and tricks, have a backup plan, especially if it's a critical automation. Also, in order to prevent, let's say, power failure, device failures along the chain, you can think about physical bypass or kill switch, three-way switch to be installed with the devices before the devices. So you can bypass the automation in these rare moments when you need. But of course, Shell Smart Control provides you in a single app all the other possibilities. Let's say you might want an auto off for your heater, for your lights. Put a backup, make it redundant. You can use device shadow auto offs. Of course, for more complex scenarios, you can write your own scripts in the Shelly devices. Well, maybe one thing which I didn't mention on the slide is used in more than one device. In this way, you achieve the redundancy. The devices are powerful themselves. They allow scripting. They allow IoT at the edge. However, if you use modular approach, it is easier to maintain and make it more reliable for the long run. And now I'd like to jump to some example use cases. Before getting to the use cases, let's remind you, start simple. You can easily edit, you can easily advance, you can easily fine-tune your automation scenarios. And before starting, think about what do you want to achieve. Usually, the scenes are pretty simple. When something happens, execute an actuator. Of course, they can become much more complex, but let's start simple. And I have prepared for you some use cases which I collected from some of our colleagues. Some of them are basic as this one. I mentioned already that one of the main possibilities for automation in a single home, house, apartment, or a building is the heating. In this case, our colleague has a pallets heater, which includes boiler, which includes pump, which includes radiators. They already have a control in itself. However, using Shelly allows him more precise control based on the rooms. He has similar scenes for other of his rooms. So I'm showing what's his automation for his bedroom. He has one device, Shelly HNT, which has some temperature rule, and the execution part is turn on the heater. Simple as that. This can be used with different heaters, and you can automate the heating of a whole house with these simple scenes. Of course, you can also, as I mentioned earlier, you can combine it with device-based automation. You can put auto off after specific time running the pallets burner. Of course, now for easier control, during the app from a single place, he has made his off scene, so you can see both of them together. Let's jump to the other use cases. Refrigerator. Well, this is one of the critical parts in the kitchen. So what happens if your refrigerator is turned off? You can also advance it if it has consumption less than the normal one. But this is a very simple example. When the refrigerator is off, send a push notification to inform.
Should I go?
Yeah, let's go next. Uh, well, Shelly Smart Control supports more than 100 models, more than 100 devices. However, lots of these models has advanced features like add-ons. In this case, our colleague has connected a voltage meter which is connected with CO2 sensor. And he has created a scene. When the CO2 sensor detects fire, he, he sends a notification which no one wants to see usually, fire in the kitchen. And talking now about, just to give you an idea, we'll now jump in the demo section, but just to give you an idea what is possible from the colleagues which is traveling more often because of his work, he has a very simple turn off everything scene, or let's say the most critical parts, or the parts which are usually forgotten, like the TVs, like the boiler. Here, the interesting part is that he has electric valves, and having electric valves together with the Shelly allows him, with very simple automation, a push of a button to turn off everything, including the water valve. But he doesn't turn off everything. He also turns on his alarms. And I'll jump even into much more complicated scene, Shania.
My favorite.
Oh, this is your favorite one. So uh, I just got yesterday to the colleague which participate, which leaded the development of Shelly Smart Control of virtual scenes. As you maybe already know, we support virtual devices in scenes, so it's get pretty versatile, it allows much more advanced use cases. In this case, the colleague has two virtual devices. One of it is air quality. It gathers the temperature, it gathers the air quality from third-party devices, which in this case are do-it-yourself devices. They report the air quality outside his home, and he has a second one, virtual devices, which combines multiple window sensors. He has 10 windows in his apartment, and he combined the status of all the 10 windows into a single virtual device. Why? Because it's easier to set it up for the scenarios. And what's his scenario? What's the use case? Well, when the air quality is bad, he wants to inform the house members. He wants to inform his household in order we have human in the loop to shut down, to close the windows, and it turns on its air purifier. So, just in a while, we'll jump into the demonstration part. We'll set up a very simple scene. Why? Well, my suggestion is start simple. I'll show you how you can advise. We have a very interesting question. What device is used to measure air quality? In this case, it's a do-it-yourself device. In this case, it's a do-it-yourself BT Home device, Bluetooth device, and with script, he gathers the information from the device and preserves it as virtual component and represents it as a virtual device. I suppose we'll have another webinar for virtual devices themselves. They allow really much more possibilities.
Thank you very much for adding your questions there. Once again, we might not be able live to answer some of the questions because we need to follow the agenda, but someone definitely in the chat will let you know more about it. Thank you very much, Ronnie. So should we go forward with the scene creation or?
Okay, we'll now jump to the demo. Before the demo, let's remind you once again. Shania, start simple, don't overcomplex at the beginning, and then we'll add some additional conditions, some additional actions.
Exactly, is mentioning this because when I was trying to create a scene, I was trying to add as much as possible devices and create very complex, and he was telling me, no, you need to start simple. Plan your scene and start simple.
Let's start with the planning. What do you want to automate? I mentioned that the common categories are heating, ventilation, lights, smart home appliances,
Honestly,
sensors or alarms.
I will just say to everyone here that in my house, all my lighting is Shelly, so I'm mostly confident with lighting. So let's go with lights.
Okay, which room do you want to automate?
Kitchen.
Okay, kitchen sounds good. And when do you want your lights to turn on?
Mm, When I come home from work.
Okay, so when there's motion in the room.
There is motion when someone enters the kitchen,
Okay.
or yeah.
So let's communicate it. What's the plan in your head?
So we need to create a light scene with a motion sensor.
Okay. What happens?
When I enter the kitchen.
Okay, when there's motion.
When there's motion, lights goes on.
Okay, so the action will be lights go on. The conditions will be when there is motion. Okay,
so
should we start?
now I'm going to share the screen and we will go with the demo. Just a second to prepare the app and share it. Okay, so I just activated the app. So we're not going to go through the interface. Once again, we had this session last week. If you want to watch the very first or the basics of the app, you can go to Shelly Academy YouTube channel and watch the recording there. Today, we will right away jump into the scenes. So let's go forward. I'm just going to go to my home. I'll click on all scenes. And I'm going to click the plus sign on the left-hand side of the application. And the very first pop-up screen is basically the conditions. And we will start with the conditions. Since I mentioned that I would like to add a product to my scene, we will go with the device base. As you can see, there are varieties. We do have also two different conditions that are related to the premium, but of course we will have a specific session for premium where we will dig into this feature of the app. So yeah, I'm just going to click device based. I'm going to go forward. Since I mentioned in my plan that I want to select the kitchen or have the actions in the kitchen, I'm just going to first go with the kitchen motion, click on next, select device property. Since my plan is to have a detected motion, I'm going to click on it. Once I enter the room, here I will not touch any of the settings, just going to click next. And the next portion is clicking next once again.
And now you're setting the execution action.
Now I'm setting the execution from do. So when are the conditions, do are the executions, right? So I'm going to add the action. I'm going to select once again device because I need now to add the light that I want to get executed. I'm going to click next. Of course, the kitchen once again, kitchen light. I'm going to click next. Change the state. I'm going to change the state to go on, turn on Shelly device. I'm going to go next. I'm not going to add anything to the delays, but later on, Tetsu will add a little bit details about some of the components that I just passed through now.
Well, I suppose that when you enter the kitchen, you want the lights immediately to be turned on. Okay?
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to click next. We can add some scheduling here. I'm not going to touch it at the moment, but once you click on edit, you can select a specific day from the week or time from the day. And then in this specific interval, your scene will be executed. But for now, I'm just going to cancel and go forward. Just going to go forward. And now I will assign this scene to my kitchen, where I will call my scene motion, let's say. Select the kitchen picture or a color, it depends from your preferences, and just gonna save it. And now we have the scene ready and there. The first thing that we can do, we can test by clicking the play, but of course, we will now stop the sharing of the presentation and we will show you the scene here and now, how it is executed. So should we show that?
I turned off all the lights in order to execute it. Well, please test your scene. Please click the play button.
Okay, clicking the play button. Well, the scene is there.
Okay, perfect. This means that you have the right actions selected.
Absolutely, the actions are working.
I will use this button to turn it off once again. Well, you just set up your first automation with Shelly Smart Control. Do you know what we forgot? To install your motion sensor. So let's install it.
Right away, it should turn on.
I just opened the box.
We just opened the box, the motion recognized the motion, and the lights goes on. So this is it. This is the basic scene. I'm gonna share very quickly the not the presentation, but the application to show you how my scene it looks like when I click on it. These are the steps, when, do, and active times. Of course, from here on, we can make it even more complex, but for now, I will just return back to Tetsu so he can continue with the presentation.
Okay, we just set up a very simple automation to turn on the lights when we have motion or someone enters the room. However, as you suggest, we also need to turn off this light. So we have two possibilities. Well, there are much more, but the simplest one are two. We can create another scene when there's no motion, turn off the light. But we can combine with Shelly Smart Control quote executed scenarios with device-based automations. So let's jump again to the app.
Okay.
And let me show you. We have a scenario which is motion. If I get back to my home, select the room kitchen, we can see the kitchen motion and we can see the kitchen lights. Here we have a very simple icon of a timer and we can set an auto off after 30 seconds. In this way, when the motion detector detects motion, the light will go on. But after 30 seconds, the light itself will shut off. Why I made it on the device? Because now it doesn't rely on your router, it doesn't rely on your internet provider. It is a device itself. Of course, you must have electricity in order this automation to run. So again, we have different dependencies on the chain. So we see 30 seconds passed, so the light went off.
all the lights correct. Yeah, they just went.
Okay, and let's get into a bit of details. We are back sharing the app. Yep. So we have this scene. I said start simple. Why? Because it's pretty easy. It's really very easy to edit this scenario. I'd like to show you one of the ways to monitor. Yes, this automation is very simple and doesn't need any logging, monitoring, troubleshooting. But when you create a complex automations in your home, in usually in the most 90% of the case, you want to see what happens. That's why we have activity diary. So I want to create another action in the same scene. I clicked on the edit button and I can clicking on add action. I will select notify action. Just in a moment, I will also show you some of the other actions, but let's for now show you how you can monitor your scene execution, how you can follow your automations in time. So you have an option add to activity log. Okay, so I'm just saving the scene, nothing complex. Next, next, save. Where is located the activity log? Here. Okay, you see, we had motion and the light after 30 seconds turned off. Let's execute the scene. I'm navigating from my home to the kitchen room, to the scene, and I'm clicking the play button. Of course, this play button, you can extract it as a widget so to be even more easy for you to use. You can use it manually. So you can see that the light turned on because I clicked the earn button, not because of the motion. And this can be also seen here in the activity log. Of course, when I activate, uh, let's say, the motion, I'll show you just the status through the app, no motion. I opened the box. Sorry, we're not streaming the app and the camera right away, but from here you can see that just the motion was activated and the lights are on, and we can see what happened in the activity log. We have the motion scene. We have motion detected and we have lights off. And as you see, this happens simultaneously. It's in the same second. Usually it's very fast.
It's great to mention that this is a great way to see if your actually scene is not getting active right away. You can go to the activity log if you add this and see if it is actually working at the background. So you can start with simple troubleshooting from there, I would say.
Yeah, this is usually more useful when you have more advanced, more complex automation. And also the activity log is pretty useful when you want to see what had happened in your house.
Fast, yeah. Okay,
Mhm.
perfect.
Okay.
Should I go back to the presentation?
Yep, let's go to the presentation. I want to make one more, let's say, fine-tuning of this scenario.
Okay.
I'll get a bit more of details. I'm clicking edit just to get to the kitchen motion and to get to show you the more advanced settings of conditions. So by default, trigger is the default one and it has custom settings. Well, first of all, before continuing, I know that for some of you this might be more advanced. That's why usually for the common scenario, the default options are fine, they're sufficient. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, we will have later this year advanced scene automations with Shelly Smart Control webinar when we will get much more into details with graphics and detailed use cases for different types of automation and advanced settings, including with virtual components, including with Islam. But let's just uh, let's just mention what the other options do. Okay, so once. What means once? Well, it's a threshold activation. You must go from state no motion into state motion in order to get the scene activated. This means once. Or if we are talking about consumption or some other value like humidity, like temperature, let's say if we set the scene under 20 degrees, this means that first uh, your temperature should go above 20 degrees, then it should go through this threshold below 20 degrees, and then the scene will activate. Well, that's not always the behavior we want. That's why we have some advanced options. Again, I want to repeat, start simple. You can edit it later. You can fine tune it. You can follow your executions, and you can check your activity logs. Start simple, fine tune later. Okay, so what means repeatedly? It means that at least once per minute. So even when the threshold is passed, the scene will trigger again. It will execute, it will fire, it will be fired again. In our scenario, when we have whites automatic based on motion, we want this behavior. Why? Someone could press the lamp. Why? Because we have auto off on the lights. This will keep the lights on whenever it detects motion, whenever you move around the room. Of course, I set auto off for 30 seconds just for the presentation. In real world scenarios, most of you may already suggest that you need at least a few minutes so you don't have the lights off in the middle of the room when you have blind spots and things like this. But let's start it simple. We need here repeatedly. We need when the device reports or at least 1 minute to turn on the lights. So I'll select repeatedly, but just to complete as we're on this screen, just to complete all of the possible options on this screen, on any change means on any report from the device. Well, be aware, sometimes a single Shelly device like emitter can report 100 times in a single second. So this is suitable when you want to hard force your temperature, let's say, or something based on the power consumption or scenarios based on the temperature. There are pretty much a lot of scenarios which are possible here. But when this is not a good idea, well, when you want to receive notifications, when you want to receive emails, you can imagine that you could get 100 notifications on every Shelly report. Usually you don't want this. So I suggest for scenes based on notifications, use once. For scenes which you need to be from time to time executed if the condition is true, if the condition is valid, then you select repeatedly. If you want to act to override other behaviors, use on any change. So we'll continue now with repeated. Can we switch again to the camera, please, Shania? Okay, so we have a constant motion because this Shelly blue motion is detecting us, and this light will turn off after 30 seconds. No, it won't, because it detects constant motion, it reports it, and it works right away. Okay? So if you have any questions, please go in the chat. Also, I'm again inviting you to share your use cases and to share your more advanced questions in the support community. The community is pretty oriented into helping each other. So thank you, everyone. Okay, so let me get into much more details. I think we have time.
Oh, we have.
Oh, we have. Let's get into details for much more of the advanced options. Let's get back to the app. I will again click edit, but actually this time I won't edit directly the condition itself. I want to edit the whole scene. Why? I want to add a second condition. You see, you can add and condition, they must be fulfilled together or you cannot or condition. Shania, what was my first suggestion? Start simple. So instead of making multiple or conditions and getting much more complex scenarios, I would suggest it's easier to follow if you create different scenes. So this is one from the tips and tricks from inside from the kitchen. Uh, Start simple, make multiple scenarios instead of one very complex, which is hard to follow.
Exactly what I tried to do at the beginning. I tried to create one very complex scene, and this is definitely not the way. Create many simple, then go with the complex.
And I'll show you now that you can create the complex scenes.
Okay, let's go and see.
We can add the second condition. Well, we already explained what triggers. I'll again select the same motion as it's the users already, the viewers already saw its options. This time I will use the illumination detection. Why? Well, usually you don't want to turn on the lights when it's already bright in the room. The motion detector has illumination detection in itself. Of course, the exact value here depends on your room, depends on your. I will just put a large number here. I just want to show and demonstrate you the options. Okay, so I already showed the advanced options for trigger, but I didn't show condition. What's the difference between trigger and condition? Again, this is much more advanced, so if you don't get it from once or if you don't want to get into details, you can safely skip it. Trigger is sufficient for most of the use cases. I wanted just to explain with a few words. Condition allows you to add a second or third condition which will not trigger the scene execution. This will be only checked for validity together with the triggers which are selected. So, if you have a secondary condition which you don't want the scene to be evaluated, to be executed on any change, you can just go with condition. Well, again, reminding, together with condition, you should have at least one trigger. Trigger is the part which fires the scene when valid. Trigger is the part which evaluates the scene. Shelly scenes are custom, pretty versatile engine for automation, which is custom made, which runs on the cloud, and it's a bit more versatile. Of course, we can't show all the of the possibility. It's almost Turing complete, so we can't show with a simple interface all the possibilities. But I think this is pretty sufficient to know the difference between trigger and condition. Trigger evaluates the scene, condition just checks together with the trigger. Of course, you can use combination of multiple triggers and multiple conditions with and or conditions between them. So let's say a, a condition for the luminance in the room, and let's say maybe you already guess what our fine-tuned scene does. Well, first of all, it evaluates when we have motion, when motion is detected, even if it's detected repeatedly. Second, it checks if the room is dark or it's bright. Again, it's demonstration. These values can be fine-tuned with your own setups. You can check what your devices reports. So you can fine-tune them. But start simple, edit later. And we turn on the lights. The second part of this automation is based in the device itself, the off part. So these were the basics for the conditions of the scenes. I just want to get through the to some details for the actuators part, for the due part, and then we will summarize and get you some tips and tricks, right, Shania?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's get to the actions part. Here you select your actuators. They can be multiple and they can fire at different time. Let's select one more light. But actually in this setup it doesn't make much sense. So maybe let's get a step back. Don't be afraid to get step back. Well, you're setuping some automation. I didn't make the plan in my head right away. So starting simple. I want to show you that we can also turn on all the lights. They are set up in a group. Shania and Tiana in the last webinar showed you how to set up groups. So we can control at once multiple devices. This is group action. We can control another scene. This is scene action. We can turn on, turn off the alarm. I showed you a similar use case. And we can have different notification, emails, phone notification, diary activity walks, and third-party actions, including Alexa, also are available. Okay, so I want another group action. Let's check what groups we have set up. Oh, we have a group with all the lights combined. So what do we want? Well, we want to turn on the group. Another pretty much more advanced option, but you see that again it's set simpler with a button with one value which you must adjust. This is delayed execution. Just I want to provide one detail for the delayed execution. The delayed execution, the counting of this time starts from the time which the scene is triggered. So you see in the interface that we show them one after another, and we show this will be just for demonstration. I will then get to this in basic to your setup, Shania. But let me show you. When we put different delay actions, you will see them in the actuator screen. And this delay starts right when the scene is executed. So this delay will start right when the kitchen light is on. So just to give you an idea of use case, as this is not the everyday use case, you can here have the lights off. But let me not break the scene, which I set up it perfectly. So getting one more option of the scene because, before getting to the summary. This is the active time. Think about the active time just on the time diapason which you want this scene to be evaluated, to be executed. It doesn't run outside this period. So let's say if we want to automate the lights, you usually want this during the night. So let's say we want between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. Simple as that, say. And I just kept in the previous showcases these two options, but this is if you want the scene enabled by default. You can later disable it. Or if you want to try and execute the scene on save or edit. You can safely skip them when setting your first scene. Start simple. Don't be afraid to be wrong. You can, as I showed you, you can always edit. You can always delete some of the conditions. And the rooms part, the rooms tab is just for organizing so you can easier find and control your automations. I will show you now a bit more uh, another way to set up and to arrange your scenes, your groups. Maybe actually most of you are using it, but let's remind you, dashboards are exactly for these dashboards introduce an easier arrangement, much more customizable for all of your devices, groups, scenarios, which you have set up with Shelly Smart Control. So if I go to dashboard, if I go to the dashboard, this is for the lights, automations, I can click add, I can select the scene, I can choose the scene which I created, and I can click save. We have it already here. We can easier trigger it manually if we need, or we can disable it. Let's say, Shana, you are going on a vacation, or you are leaving the dog of your friend at your home, and you don't want to get the lights always on. So you just disable it. Okay, so did you get how to create your scene?
Definitely. And I also definitely was very helpful to see how we can add up extra steps, extra products, the activity log. Every single step is very interesting to see, and it makes very clear. I just want to reference something to the chat that I have seen. I understand that we do have a lot of people from Germany, and you might not really understand or you prefer in the German language. We will take this under consideration and we will work closely with our DACH region to create German webinars similar to this one. We understand your feedback. Thank you very much for sharing it with us.
We will also upload it where we will upload the
We
recording.
upload it to Shelly Academy, but of course it is in English.
It is in English, but it can have captions.
Absolutely.
So, let's summarize what we learned so far. And right after this, we'll jump to the Q&A session. Please make the Q&A session in English. And as Shinai mentioned, we'll think about organizing such seminars also in German.
Subtitles to the English webinar. So definitely we will take this under consideration. Okay, so I'm going to share very quickly the presentation and we will go through the tips and tricks. But honestly, this is more of a let's say summary from what we discussed up until now. And overall, this is the presentation. Let's just click on present and I will now share the screen. Just a second. And please let us know in the chat while I'm switching to the presentation if this webinar actually is helpful to you. If you learn a lot of new things or you prefer to have a little bit more advanced version, this will be very helpful for us and it will give us a clear direction how to create our future webinars. As I mentioned in our previous session, we started this initiative in January. It's a new, and we are building it up now. So your suggestions, your thoughts, and your ideas are very important for us.
Thank you once again for this great initiative. We are constant at the team, the application team, we are constantly developing new features. We are constantly making improvements. We are constantly reading, summarizing feedback from you, our users. So it needs to have such a format to be able to represent how our features work. They get much more versatile and also combining with the more than 100 models which the app supports.
Yeah.
I think some of the user might skip when we have new features which might be useful to them.
And I can see right away in the chat more advanced webinars. Noted. The note is taken.
We have already planned this year to make an advanced scenarios webinar. Also, Shinai, maybe you can share about the scripting courses.
Yeah, something to mention once again. Next week, we will announce in the Facebook community there is an upcoming Shelly scripting based course where we will learn, not we, but we are working with an external organization very close to create these courses. The course lasts for 1 month, and there you can learn how to script, add scripts on your Shelly, write scripts on your Shelly devices, and we will start from fundamentals and basics. So yeah, next week we will announce, and you can definitely join.
I think I should also join the scripting course. I'm usually using the app.
Feel free. Welcome to the
Thanks.
course. So yeah, with scriptings, actually, you can learn device-based automations, which
Yeah.
is really great. Okay, perfect.
IoT at the edge.
Absolutely. Okay, at the end, tips and tricks. Only on Facebook. Frank, we will announce it on Facebook through email marketing, and we will upload it to our other social media channels. But as I mentioned, Shelly Academy is mainly using the Shelly Facebook community group. But yeah, we will announce through different channels.
This is just the second of a series of webinars. So you can subscribe in Shelly Academy. You can follow the Facebook, the official Facebook community. You're welcome.
Okay, so let me see. Thank you, Frank. Hello on outdoor version. Okay, I can see there are some discussions ongoing, but let me go through the tips and tricks, a very quick summary from what we have discussed up until now, and then we will return back to the cameras. Okay, as already many times we mentioned, start simple is the way to go. Create a plan when event execute and execute actions is really essential. What do we want to achieve with the specific scene that we create? And then use multiple separate scenes instead of trying to create one very complex and very a scene with many devices and actions and notifications, let's say on that way. Create a simple one. Create many simple ones, let's say on that way. Add event log to track executions, very essential. Play with different trigger settings. See the other options that the triggers is giving, not just the default one. So overall play around with the scenes for the people that are new to the scenes. Of course, I saw in the chat that we have a lot of advanced people in the group here, but yeah, definitely. And we will have soon an advanced scene automations presentation with the webinar with presentation, let's say that way. So definitely we will announce this. We will let you know when we will have it exactly. But yeah, overall, this is it. Let me see the chat very quickly.
Thanks for the summary, Shania. Okay. I'm seeing that there are lots of questions. I saw that you have interest on the advanced content. Taking note. We'll make it more advanced, but starting now with the second webinar, we can't just jump into the advanced part.
We need to start simple.
Yeah,
From basic.
and later advance it.
Absolutely.
So some of your questions.
Answer 2 or 3 questions, and then
Okay.
what we can't answer, we will send it through email. So yeah.
I see that there are interest for new feature and new advancements in the Shelly Smart Control scenes. Yes, we are currently internally working on a few tasks. One of them is for the advanced users. To be honest, I can't share much more details. They are in the pipeline of the team, so maybe very short, like in a few months, you'll have much more advanced options in the scene. But also not only advanced scenes. I see here suggestions like is it possible to copy the scene? Is it possible to duplicate the scene? Well, we are working on a lot of ideas for improvement and we are testing a lot of ideas. We also read all the other channels and we summarize these. Uh, Please note that it usually takes time in order to evaluate how it will be user friendly and how it can be useful to you, our users. So we have a few major improvements in the pipeline for the Shelly Smart Control. Thank you for your patience. The question, are the scenes cloud-based? Do they depend on internet connection? Well, that's why I started in this way. With Shelly Smart Control, you can set up automations which are based into your device or which are based on the cloud. Actually, you can make scripts in this tiny shell which make them perfect for IoT attach without having to think about the internet connectivity and without having these concerns. However, this requires more technical knowledge. That's why there are all the scripting courses. But we also provide as complementary to all of these options the Shelly scenes which are free. Shelly scenes are free to use and they actually provide you computing time on our cloud. So they're much more versatile, they're much more easy to use. Yes, when you have concern about the internet, you can use fallback setup in your device. Let's say if you have heating, put once a day an auto off option. You know that it can be overridden by the scene, but at the same time, you know that if you lose internet connection at this specific time, the fallback will work. So I think we already showed with lights how to off of the light.
Okay, Todor, thank you very much for answering. Okay, perfect. If you want to check some of the other questions, if you want to answer anything else, let's answer, let's say, one more question and then we can close the session.
Okay, I see that some of the questions are getting more and more advanced. Let's leave a bit time for a bit content for the advanced webinar, and also we just got close to 1 hour. So
Yeah.
thanks all for participating.
Thank you very much for joining.
Thanks, Shunai, for demonstrating.
Thank you very much for including me to the demo and yeah, it was great working with you. The recording will be available beginning of next week in our YouTube channel. So yeah, definitely we will share the YouTube channel in our community once again. We have it in featured actually. If you want to check the first video, go to Facebook, to the Facebook community under features. You can see the very first video that we have recorded. Well, yeah, thank you very much for all of you being here. And we will announce next week also the next date for the external webinars where you can join. And I just want to mention that next month we are planning to have a couple of technology or let's say integration webinars, not only for the app, we will have one topic for the app and two more topics dedicated to, for example, LoRa, add-on, Zigbee. So definitely we will share a calendar very soon.
So we'll have more advanced webinars. That's great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Have a great evening or afternoon and have a great weekend.